Let's bring him on. Brother Judge Joe Brown. How you doing, brother?
All right, people. How's everybody? Had a little connectivity problems. My system doesn't work too well with StreamYard, but anyway,
it's all good.
I'm here.
I mean, you here, and we anxiously await this conversation. I follow you on Twitter. I share a lot of your tweets as well. We're in alignment on a lot of things. So, I mean, I just want to start the conversation off with 27 minutes in, and we was just talking about the things that we talk about on a daily basis. So, let's just jump right into it. Can you, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Where do you hail from? Where were you born? Your parents, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh wow, I haven't done that in a long time. It's so long. I think that's actually irrelevant. Basically, I grew up in L.A., transplanted to Memphis 50 years ago after I went through UCLA Law School. Did a few things, learned a few things, had a few adventures, some good times, some close encounters of the wrong kind, some of the right kind, and I'm here.
Definitely.
Oh, I did in between that is 15-year-long front-running TV show. So,
That's right. That's right.
If that counts.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely
really
counts. That definitely counts. So, what one of the things that I want to get into personally for me is I want to get into Barack Obama, right? Because we believe
that Obama tang old Bush bunny.
yeah, him.
Motherfucker, hell, fuck him. Piece of shit. Yeah,
so
let's the movement. Pimp black folk.
Talk about it, because we believe that he was a failed president.
Doggone mulatto, waste of time, half-breed mulatto.
Yeah,
Came in from the Kenyan bush by way of his pimped out mama. Then he got raised by a criminal, Lolo Sotoro. You know, they used to want him from The Hague for crimes against humanity. There were allegations that he had been responsible for killing between 500,000 and 750,000 people when he ran the death squads in Indonesia. So that's the background between this charlatan that we masquerade. We so happy we got somebody black up in the White House. Yeah, but is it one of you? You know, your dead ass went to heaven, let's say. You got a message back. Hey, man, I'm up here amongst the angels. I was surprised, but, I was asking around and everybody wanted to know, what about this new dude we got in the White House? This back in 2008, and they were asking around and they kept asking me, and, they were asking which one of us is his ancestor. And I had to admit, man, ain't none of y'all. I never thought about it, but, what's his connection to Black America besides having the same paint scheme?
Definitely.
But you can fake that. So he needs to sit his tired ass down. And they're talking about putting him on the Supreme Court. Hell, I don't even think he's been in the damn courtroom to try a case. What's he doing being a Supreme Court justice?
That's right.
He hasn't been particularly astute about much of anything except pimping colored folk. A lot of white folk, too. Pushing big business. And by the way, if you want to understand where he's really coming from, he's the richest person ever to sit in the White House.
That's you mean prior to his, not prior, but post-presidency?
All time.
Or the whole, oh, wow.
Business Insider reported his net income for 2018 after all taxes and expenses at $570 million on a draw against his trust fund of $1.25 billion.
Wow.
See, Daddy used to be executive vice president for Standard Oil, international executive vice president.
Definitely.
And he got help by Standard Oil, that's Exxon now, to set up an oil company in Indonesia. And with the fact that he ran the death squads for the Indonesian army, he was kind of like the Heinrich Himmler for Indonesia. He took over. So the State Department protected him because he ran the I spy operations in China, North Korea, North Vietnam, and you remember the 60s. That's what everybody was worried about, getting an all expense paid vacation to the tropics in 110-degree heat in the shade, 100% humidity, and creeping through the slime, mud, muck, and mire while some creepy crawling stuff was slithering all over you. Yeah, okay. And he turns out to be a cousin to George Herbert Walker and George Walker Bush, to cousin to Dick Cheney, cousin to Warren Buffett, and a cousin to Brad Pitt, the actor, amongst other things. So yeah, he's got a lot in common with us.
Yeah,
He didn't do anything for us. I mean, you know,
nothing.
If you're gay, you got a lot of shit done.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Nothing wrong with gay folk. That's their
or if you was an immigrant,
it ain't mine.
Or an immigrant, right? With DACA and the Indians, several Indian tribes got to split up 400 and I think it was $27 million, et cetera,
That's not much money.
Yeah, but you know, it was something
let me give you a
specific.
In the scheme of things, you got to hit billions before you're talking real money. For example, that amount of money will not buy you a 747.
No.
It will not buy you a B-2 Spirit bomber. You can't buy an aircraft carrier for that. You can't buy a Navy destroyer for that money. You know, so you can't buy a nuclear attack submarine for that money either. So it sounds like a lot, but in the scheme of things, it's really nothing. But of course, we haven't even been given that. So I tell you what, personally, I will accept with not gratitude, but I'll take it if they give me the reasonable interest on the reasonable principal value, compounded semi-annually, on 40 acres and one goddamn mule for the last 160 years.
That's what I'm talking about.
I won't fight it.
That's what I'm talking about.
It, but I'd like to win the big lottery too. But I am not guiding my life on winning the damn lottery.
Indeed. And Sister Cynthia, did you want to ask any questions to our honorable guest?
I did, Brother Naheem. First off, Judge Joe Brown, it is a pleasure to meet you.
Hello
even though it's virtually. I watched you for years. But I do have like some specific questions, especially since we kind of alluded to the General Order 15 of the 40 acres land grants. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about reparations, if you don't mind. So I was listening to a program that you did a couple of years ago, and I know the panelist was asked this particular question, and I kind of want to get your take on it. So, how important do you think reparations are to a Black agenda, and do you think it should be? Why and why is that?
Doesn't do anything for it.
How?
See it. How much money are you talking about per person?
Well, there's a lot of figures that are thrown out there as far as like, you know, reparations program is concerned.
I know. How much are we talking about? Give me a nominal figure.
Well, I think that Dr. Darity talks between 10 to 12 trillion over a 10-year period.
No, it's a lot more than that. Let's say you gave everybody.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree. There should be a lot more than that.
Okay, that would work out to about 15-some trillion dollars. The national income, gross national income for 2017, last year I have the figures, was 19.2 trillion. Government country can't operate off of that. So how long a period of time are they going to talk about the reparations? How many people that deserve it will be dead before they get paid off? It's like winning the lottery. The other thing you have to understand about that is a president can't do it. And if he says he is, he's lying through his filthy teeth. The only way you can get that is for Congress, that's the House and Senate, to pass an Appropriations and Enablement Act. In other words, to enable it by law and to put the money up so it can be paid for.
Sure.
Now, do you really think that is going to get through Congress as it is currently made up today? And see, Congress, by the way, under the First Amendment is not just the House of Representatives. It's got two chambers. One is the House of Representatives and the other is the U.S. Senate. Now, you have to get the senators and the House going for it. The president, whoever he may be, has got to sign it. Then it's got to survive probably a lot of judicial attack by various states. And if it survives, then you might get something. Now, let me say this. We're talking about reparations, but this is the third time in my life that reparations was a big issue. We actually got it. That's why I jokingly mentioned that about the 40 acres and one goddamn mule. January 14th, 1865, General William Tecumseh Sherman, military chief of a certain southern district that included Atlanta, signed an order that directed that one army mule and 40 acres of land confiscated from rebel secessionists be given to every black family, and the scheme set up so every black man who got married could get 40 acres of confiscated land and one army mule. Union military commander Ulysses Simpson Grant okayed that. President Abraham Lincoln, a Republican, okayed it. The Republican House and the Republican Senate appropriated extra funds to make it work. It was working fine until June 1865. At that point, President Johnson of Tennessee, a Democrat, not Lyndon Baines Johnson 100 years later, but Johnson from Tennessee, who, acting as military commander-in-chief over the South, because it still had not been repatriated with the Union, issued a military order countermanding that and struck the provision so there was no longer the award of 40 acres and a mule to black families. Now, that's where we are right now. So since then, we have not gotten anything. That would have actually been pretty effective reparations at the time. It probably would have prevented the rise of the so-called sharecropper situation that was a form of virtual slavery for a long period. But it didn't happen. So we are here right now. Now, I can remember being in college and reparation was all the big thing that went on for a while. And I remember when I was in elementary school, the subject came up too. So I've heard it before. Sounds the same each time it comes up. Goes the same place, which is where? And then you have a critical issue that nobody wanted to talk about then because they couldn't. You can now. Is how do you determine who's entitled to get it? Bush Bunny, who was most lately in the White House up until 2016, wouldn't be eligible for it. Would his family be eligible for it? Maybe through their mama, not the daddy. Okay, who's eligible for it? Would you talk about including Carib Americans in there? What are you talking about?
No.
New immigrants? How long do they have to be in the United States? What is the percentage of black African that they have to have in them? See, there are a lot of people that look black, but they've only got 25, 26, 27% African genes in them. The rest of them is something else. They just inherited the genes that's set for color. You got a lot of folk that are blonde-haired, blue-eyed, literally, that have 40, 50, 60% African in them. They just don't have the genes that set color. You've got a lot of people who look like white folk next door, but you find out that their ancestor was Sally Hemings, the bed slave for Thomas Jefferson. So, you know, maybe they're entitled to. So how do you work that out unless you take a DNA test? By the way, they can't tell you where you came from, what region of the country you were likely from, and a lot of other things. But you got woke black folk ain't taking no DNA test, man. That's just something for them to get a hold, man, so they can do some genetic stuff on black folk, man. See, so where you go with this? Then you get stuck on stupid. You get $500,000 out, let's say, and if they do, I promise you, if I'm still around, I'm gonna acquire a big interest in a athletic supply company, because there's gonna be a whole lot of black folk that will be rushing down there to buy one pair of every type of Air Jordan in every color offered for every one of their children, grandchildren, them fat selves who can't even run to the end of the driveway, plus all their boyfriends and whatever else. It will be flat broke busted inside the week. So I'm gonna go get in on that, so I will be able to put that capital to some kind of use.
Well, let me ask you this,
But it would
Judge
be
Brown.
nice. I wouldn't turn it down. I
Okay,
promise
well, I'm glad that and I wouldn't turn down my check either. So I have another question. Are you familiar with the works of Dr. William Darity?
somewhat. But let me
Oh,
add one thing to that last point.
okay.
What we would really prosper from is a reimposition of affirmative action as a form of reparations. It really worked, and a lot of black folk got college education, graduate degrees, and got put on the roadway to some economic success. It got cut off too early. But you have this thing now with the so-called Equality Act that's trying to set up affirmative action for the gay community, which I think is wrong. It's bootstrapping off of and using, in terms of form and benefit, every single thing that black folk have been asking for years, everything black folk have been trying to do, and all that is essentially embraced in those things outside of cash money for reparations. Now, cash money would be good, but let's move on from that. I would love to have it. Damn it, I know I have gone through a whole lot of racist bullshit from look at this series Lovecraft Country, that travel in the South about setting up the guide. There was a postman named Green that started putting that together. And I know every time we traveled, my father would buy a copy. It was like 25 cents, 45 cents, something like that, from Sinclair Oil. And I know one time I can remember when I was real young, my mother had been employed as a librarian at Tuskegee Institute. So we were driving from there just before we went back to LA. And she wanted to visit some friends in Jackson, Tennessee. So we ran through one of those sundown towns by accident. And they took some shots at the car. They were shooting at my old man, but they missed him. I was sitting in the back seat, and my mother let me have Coca-Cola of all things, and was sitting on my knee, and a bullet went right through it. So, I mean, from that early age, I need my damn reparations for, being a kid worried about my mama spanking me for spilling Coca-Cola all over the back seat, but it is what it is.
Well, at least we can agree that if you got your check, that you would not turn it down. So I'm glad about
I
that.
wouldn't turn it down.
Now, I would love for you to actually and invite you, and I would even send you a copy, Judge Brown, of From Here to Equality by Dr. William Darity. In that particular book, he does go through the whole who would get it, what it looks like, and what could and how like different programs could be actually implemented to make reparations make sense, to the point where, yes, that particular book right there, to the point where it would not, cause an issue, especially when it comes to inflation. So I would invite you for that,
Well,
to read that.
See, I'm beyond that. I don't read that stuff. See, I read things like the mechanics of the use of propaganda to influence, etc., attitudes toward propaganda techniques to advise on such and such and such and such. establishment of hydroelectric power in certain urban areas near to waterways. I deal with stuff like that, those things, implementation. See, I've already 30 years ago put in place a thing where for my courtroom in the state of Tennessee, where the statewide felony recidivism rate was 80%, I reduced it to 18%, got people jobs, employed, in school, manned up with attitude. So now they tell me with gray hair in their heads how thankful they are, how they have families, grandkids, and they've got organizations and groups where they're trying to do man up things with young boys to keep them from tearing up the hood. See, that works. They're all working. They are prospering. They're not dead sitting up in a penitentiary. See, those things we need. I can give a damn fool a lot of money and he'll still be a damn fool and soon a broke damn fool. If I get a man some training and teach him how to be a damn man, he can go do man things. Women can do women things too. So we've gotten way out of line with that. If you go back, this planet's been around for about 4.5 billion years, and life has been around for about 3.8 billion, latest estimate. All through that time, they've been dealing with what? The next generation. Fundamentally, men have a job because they are male mammals, and women have a job because they're female mammals, and we've got it all screwed up. So our real enemy is trying to get us off of that. So we don't have women, we don't have men, we don't have families. And if you don't have the family to produce the men and women that are necessary, ain't nobody going to damn anywhere. And see, we got to go get back to that kind of thing. You know, our communities ain't shit because we don't have any manhood in them. We got to man up and start dealing with responsibility. It's not the police's job to deal with keeping law and order and public peace, dignity, and order in our community. It's our job. Well, we don't need to be whining about police. We need to be running the son of a bitches out when they're wrong, or turning the damn city administrations out who have the wrong police in there. We're talking about justice is just us. We need to start sitting on these damn juries. We need to start understanding what's going on. We need to start producing some lawyers with some balls so when they get through law school, they will take these cases instead of saying, Judge, we just can't do this because it's about the money, Your Honor. Oh, you damn punk ass. Don't you live here too? Well, we have to do a lot of things we can get ahead of. See, we have to, police reflect the realities of power. And when they treat you like shit, they're saying you ain't shit. You get what you deserve. You got all of you around here and you can't even elect somebody to sit up and represent you who will get you what you want. You get somebody in and the first goddamn thing he's doing, he's always trying to slide his pocket open so somebody can put a bribe in it to go help somebody else besides the people who elected him to get something.
Well, can I ask?
Preachers take all your damn money and diffuse all your enthusiasm and waste all your time so you can't get your shit together while you running around there praying to Jesus.
Well, let me ask you this, Judge Brown.
He ain't done nothing for you in the last 200 years. He ain't going to do a damn thing now. You wait and you get your pie in the sky. I don't want to wait until I die. I'm too close to that any damn way. I want some shit right now. You know?
Well, let me ask you this, Judge Brown, especially since you brought up local municipalities and elections and things of that nature. So I was listening to another broadcast where you were talking specifically about voting habits and Black folks' voting habits, and you had a lot to say about that. And I was wondering if you can kind of go in a little bit further about the issues when it comes to Black voting.
Get your punk ass into the mindset of you are supposed to get something for your vote. A lot of folk died so your ass can get that vote. A lot of white folk died so a lot of white folk can get the vote. Certainly a lot of Black folk did too. Don't give it away. We give our vote away. Wait. CNN, Crying Negro Network. Oh, I'm so happy that Trump lost. Oh, I'm so happy Van Jones, punk ass Van Jones crying. And what did that Negro get? Nothing. Not even any damn respect. except you want to call it Crying Negro Network after him instead of CNN. What do we get? You put somebody in office that told you ain't getting shit. I promise gay folk the first 100 days are going to be all theirs. And I ain't promised your ass shit. So I promised them, you got me to vote. And then I'm letting you take the credit for getting me in. So when shit gets the fan, you get the shit. So what are we going to do? Sell your vote. You owe no loyalty to a political party. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. But black folk almost universally used to be Republican. The Democrats were the ones that were incorporated to spread slavery. They are the ones that historically kept slavery. And until Franklin Delano Roosevelt came up with the New Deal to feed some black folk and everybody else when everybody was going broke, we didn't have anything to do with them. Now all of a sudden you act like that's Jesus. What the hell? Get real. Sell your vote.
Let's let Sister Connie come in. Let's let Sister Connie come in. I was getting some feedback, Sister Connie. But any questions you have?
You're still getting feedback?
Yeah, I still. But you just after you ask your question, you can just mute out, and then whenever you're ready to speak, just unmute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Judge Joe Brown. You may
Hello,
not
Miss
remember.
Collins.
Hello. I met you with two of my funny friends, Vanessa Graddick and Ada Rodriguez.
Ada,
yeah.
How is she doing?
I haven't talked to her in a minute. Vanessa, I'm tighter with Vanessa. But anywho, I just wanted to ask you your thoughts. I heard how you went in on Obama. So I'm really curious what you have to say about Kamala Harris and whether she was appointed to, how do I say, be next in line behind Biden. What are your thoughts on that?
I've been saying that for the last year. Biden is a senile idiot. He's always been a bench warming, third string idiot that just got on the bus to travel with the team. First time I heard that racist dog was in 1972 outside the state capitol for that rundown Delaware in Dover. And he was on stage with George Wallace, John B. Stennis, Faubus, James O. Eastland, and Byrd, and they were lauding him as the last of the true yellow dog Dixiecrats who would turn back integration. And he was talking about Negroes being roaches and animals and turning streets into jungles. And he and Strom Thurmond were going to find a way to put us in zoos where we were safe. He's been a racist dog since day one. And we've got him in. So what have we got on the other hand out there? Well, do we have Black Caucus who's doing something for us? No. That's actually the colored adjunct, colored surrogates for LGBTQ. They don't represent black folk. Do we have black mayors? Maybe a few that are decent, but most of them are wearing around trying to pander to the LGBTQ community. Do we have black preachers? They got a whole bunch of LGBTQ capering around up there by the pulpits when the book that they're supposed to be believing in calls them an abomination. What do we have? We've got drag queens reading to children, including black children in schools. We've got what? We've got a clown that's in the White House to push that. And part of the plan is so his senile ass can resign so come Queen Imhoff becomes the vice president of the president. And by operation of the 20th Amendment, Nancy Pelosi becomes vice president. Now, if that isn't enough to make me vomit in anticipation, I don't know what is. All right, Mrs. Imhoff. Why the hell do we call her by her maiden name, Harris, instead of her married name, Mrs. Imhoff? You have Mrs. Hillary Clinton. You've got Mrs. Sarah Palin, ran for VP with McCain. You've got Mrs. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. How come we got Miss Imhoff, or is that too damn Jewish? Not Mrs. Imhoff. Is that too damn Jewish? You know, black folk are a little bit anti-Semitic, you know, which is not cool, but they're a little anti-Semitic. So, I mean, was that a turnoff? Was it saying, oh, that's why she looks like that? She is not a black woman. She's one of them. And then she is actually, according to anthropologists, she's what's known as an Indo-Aryan. That's another lie told very long, loudly, and now believed. Aryans are not blonde-haired, blue-eyed from the far north. They're from India. They're swarthy to dark-complected with frizzy to long, coarse, straight hair, dark hair and dark eyes, just like Kamala Harris. I have a good friend who is married to a Jamaican citizen. She was born in Jamaica. Her parents born in Jamaica. Except the parents, they be white aristocracy because the grandparents be in Britain. And she's blonde-haired, blue-eyed. She happens to know Mr. Harris, Professor Dr. Harris. She says he's always been known as a Hindu. He sometimes jokes about how the Irish slipped in there like they do everybody else. And he talks about that grandmama that the Harris woman wants to point to and say, that's my black grandmother. She said, no, she's not a black woman. That is a Hindu woman. She was a servant. See, Jamaica was part of the British Empire, you know, and the sun never set on the British Empire, part of the Commonwealth. So they have people there from Canada, Kenya, South Africa, Pakistan, India, Hong Kong, Singapore, and you get people that look just like they straight out of China someplace. Hey man, how you doing, man? You know, if they live in Mexico and if they live in Jamaica, they speak the Puerta, man. They be blood clot fuck, man, you know.
So, given the fact that Kamala is a known code switcher, I mean, you've touched on, some of the things, but what do you think the goal is? We had Barack Obama in office, we have Kamala, and now we're seeing a cabinet full of black immigrants. Is there some intentionality behind that?
Announcement. Today, it became realized that black Americans have been recognized in their obsolescence. You know what's happening? We live in the inner cities. The inner cities are kind of like plantations, but the damn Negroes have no damn crops to pick, and they got folk vying to be overseers over a plantation with no crops. And black folk won't get the idea that they need to think like, act like, and be free people. We think like dogs. You talk to white folk, real white folk, and it's interesting, like Martin Luther King. You have a Martin Luther King Day. You know what that's all about? Have you seen this commercial where they're talking about pet food and this little girl is laying up in a hospital bed and she's saying, more procedure today, and the nurse or the doctor says, we want to try something different, and this dog comes in and puts his head on the bed. She goes, oh, and the dog wags its tail. Well, Martin Luther King was kind of that dog to the American system, and they gave him a holiday because it'd be like shooting that dog. Everybody go, you shot the dog. Oh my, that sweet dog that was trying to be so good to America. Oh, we got to get a holiday. See, don't be fooled. We wag our tails. We respond to the whistle. We don't know how to make it. We depend on somebody opening up the cow can and kibbles and bits and putting them in the bowl and calling us to eat. Putting the water out there, getting us to the vet, getting rid of our fleas when necessary, and scratching us on the ass when he wants to make us happy and have us wag our tails. That's about all we get from the system. And Kamala Harris and Bush Bunny, they're about the same. Ain't nobody traditional, original issue, black American done shit when it comes to getting high office. and we support these clowns who want to put us up there and front us off.
Okay, so let me ask
That
you
girl
this.
didn't even
Why?
grow up in America. She grew up in Canada, kindergarten through 12th grade. She went to Howard because they offered some scholarships, so she took an accidental oversight on her birth certificate. It says race of mother, Caucasian, because she's a Hindu Tamil Brahmin. That's classed as Caucasian. And Caucasian doesn't necessarily mean you look white. It's something else. And then daddy, they put race of daddy, said Jamaican. So the ignoramuses at Howard University looked at that, oh, he got to be black, man. He's from Jamaica. I've been to Jamaica 40 times. Guest of the government, prime minister, guest of the governor general, a whole bunch of times. And they got a place called St. Elizabeth Parish where everybody high, bright, or white. And they born in Jamaica. I mean, and we don't get it. We're ignorant and we are wishful in our thinking. So we got a Bush bunny who did not grow up in the United States of America and didn't set foot on the mainland until he was 20 damn years old, who is half Kenyan, who is half white from Kansas, raised in Indonesia by a fiend hitman. And now we got a Hindu Tamil Brahmin masquerading as black in line to be the first female president, and we jumping up and down and ain't got shit yet.
Okay, but why did she? What do you think she slipped up? Given the fact that she was originally portraying herself like a black American, she had the black struggle, all of that.
She didn't portray herself that way. I was in California when she was getting up. I was doing that show. She was talking about she was a Hindu. I'm the first Indian to be elected as district attorney for the district embracing San Francisco, the Bay Area. I'm the first American Indian who is running for state attorney general. I'm the first Indian running for U.S. senator. She didn't say shit about being black.
Once
Not
she started
one
running
damn
for the
time. Except
presidency,
she was fucking Willie Brown. That was his booty.
well, once she started running for the presidency, she tried to analogize herself and give anecdotes about her being a young black girl and having the struggles. But what I found odd was that when she was interviewed and asked her thoughts about reparations, she got real funky, rolled her neck, and said, "No, I will never say I will do anything that will only benefit black people." So was that a slip up? Because she dropped her veil in that moment. During her presidency, she was trying to be a black American woman.
Yeah, well, see, you can't fake real. You slip. By the way, I have some Indian acquaintances that look a lot like you, Miss Collins. And I know there were two that were on my show I thought were sisters. And we all met up, a bunch of the crew at a place called the Pinot, which was about a block away from the studio. They told me one day, "Judge, you think we're black women, don't you?" I said, "Aren't you?" I said, "No, we're Indian." He says, "I'm Hindu Brahmin caste, and her mama's Hindu Brahmin, and her daddy's warrior caste. And by the way, she can't go back to India because they got a death warrant out on her parents for going off and violating the protocols." I said, "Damn." So, I mean, she joined AKA. My mother was an AKA. She got made 1934 up here at Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee. But she would faint. And then they show you by the ignorance. They're talking about, "Oh, wow, you guys are just jealous because we've got the first black Greek in the White House as vice president." I said, "No, you don't have the first black Greek anything." I met Big Brother Vice President Hubert Humphrey in 1966. He's a bald-headed white man from Minnesota who made Alpha back in the 30s. So nobody tried to claim him for being back. He was just a badass white boy who wanted to join. So that was a member of a frat, black frat. And by the way, let me say something about deterioration of concept. Black fraternities and sororities came about first decade or so of the 20th century, and their purpose was not to party like white Greek organizations. Their purpose was as an underground organization to fight segregation. Pledging used to be hard as hell because what you were trying to test for is to determine whether or not this brother or this sister could keep their mouth shut if Sheriff Bubba caught them and was trying to torture them to tell on everybody. Little story here. Emmett Till got killed. Two alphas, A.W. Willis, an attorney, and Russell Sugarman, an attorney, now late, went down with an Ernest Withers, who was a black cop and also a photographer. They went down there. Withers took 6 rolls of film, didn't develop them, handed film off, 3 rolls to each man. They were supposed to get it out of Mississippi, get it to Illinois, get the film developed up there and give it to the governor. Well, A.W. got captured. He managed to escape, but he got tortured, but he didn't tell anybody. 6, 7 cars got shot up and burned up. 5 or 6 folk got wounded when the Klan and the White Citizens Council were trying to keep those rolls of film getting out. That's what the frats were supposed to be about. They went to a Walgreens up in Illinois, got the film developed and gave it to the governor. He demanded Emmett Till's body back, and they had a funeral without the body being embalmed. And if you look again at Lovecraft Country, there's a scene in there where people are throwing up in a pail. One of the reasons was because after a couple of days in the hot sun or hot heat, the body started to really smell and people were throwing up. But that's the background. That's what frats used to do. If you look at who's in frats, various ones, you see these people. There are 4 frats that divide everything up into 4s. There are 4 sororities to divide everything up into 4s, so no one unit can take everything and everybody down. Now, that's the background, but you see, we have come down from that. So when you get Kamala Harris, don't get happy, that's not one of us. When you see Barack Obama, don't get happy, that's not one of us. In other words, point to one of their relatives who grew up in the United States. You can't. Does not exist. And by the way, there is a thing on the, I think they call it Jamaican Times, it's on air. They even admit that that is an editing of the story that Dr. Harris did himself. He wrote it, he's a professor. And in it, he called his daughter a liar and a fraud. I have read the paper journal, and what's online has been cleaned up. They took that part out. So, yeah, it's fraud. See, this is a propaganda matter. That's why I study it. It's political science. I had a physics major in college at UCLA. I also had a minor in political science, military science, and vertebrate paleontology. But thanks to St. Rhonda Reagan, I couldn't get all of the courses that I needed to finish physics before I was going to get one of those notes that said, "Greetings from your president. You are hereby ordered to report to your local induction center. You've already had your physical, already been through boot camp. Enjoy your vacation in the now." So I didn't particularly want to do that right then because I didn't have any particular grievance against Uncle Ho, Chi Min. And somebody said you can declare political science as your major. You've already got enough credits. My faculty advisor, I said, why not? And I did. And I said, now what the hell am I going to do? He said, well, you can be a professor. I said, I don't want to teach political science. Damn, hell no. He said, well, go to law school. I said, I don't want to be any damn lawyer. He said, well, at least take the LSAT. So I did. I didn't even know what I got. Didn't even look. And I started getting all these letters from Harvard, Yale, Princeton, UCLA, trying to recruit me. So I just stayed at UCLA where all the Hollywood starlet types were. There was a sunny beach nearby, desert nearby, and snow up in the hills if you wanted it. So why not? I had a love of life I was trying not to lose at the time. So Midnight Train did not go to Georgia, but it didn't leave LA. Let's put it that way. So life is what it is. And that was a half century plus ago. So here we are
So,
now.
why do you think the United States government would anoint Kamala Harris and Barack Obama to be the face of Black people and to rise to such high positions? There's got to be a strategy behind that.
Yeah, it is. It's called control. If you study this, it's obvious what you're looking at. See, there is a distinct minority that consists of 5.6%, a little less, of the American population. For those over 55, about 1.5% to a bit less than 2% belong to that particular group. For those 18 to 23, 16% belong to that group. It's called LGBTQ. They have plotted, they had a 25-year plan. I heard them strategize back in the 60s at UCLA. They had a 50-year plan, they have a 75-year plan, and a 100-year plan. Their 50-year plan is coming along well. Part of it was to take control of the entertainment media. Part of it was to take control of the news media. Part of it was to take control of politics, both parties, to insinuate themselves in both parties, to sow maximum confusion so that the public wouldn't know what the hell's going on. So they're 5.6% concentrated in these strategic positions could in effect control the population. You have had a glorification of dysfunction that has occurred over the last 50 years. So people don't know what the hell's going on. Nobody wants to be strong anymore. Everybody wants to be protected and coddled. Nobody understands masculinity anymore. They call it toxic. Nobody understands femininity anymore because being a woman is somehow demeaning. Family, what the hell is a family? Provide for the people that depend upon you. What the hell is that? The government can give you a check. 55 years ago, if you saw a Black man and he was supposed to be into something, he was going to college and he had some suits, ties, and sports coats. The ladies, they had some class. Now, what are you looking at? Cardi B is the exemplar of Black womanhood. Kim Kardashian, and they aren't even Black American. You got what? The thug, the pimp, the drug dealer, the burglar, the gangster. Those become exemplars of Black masculinity. Hell no. You're not a man if you don't make where you live a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, ethics, morality, and promote order, peace, and public dignity where you happen to be. You have responsibilities. We don't have that anymore. We're off into some fantasy land. You get a brother now who's supposed to be all in. He looks like he just got through pushing a doggone grocery cart filled with lawn bags. Britches hung low off your ass. You know where that came from? That's exemplary of the whole thing. First time I saw it was 1980. My law partner had been murdered, was representing some folk in a drug case, massive interstate drug case. I inherited some of his clients. One of them I had to go interview up behind the wall in Nashville, Tennessee at the main penitentiary. It was 105 degrees. The air conditioning had broken down in the attorney-client visitation room. I'm sitting out on the yard with a yellow pad talking to this fiend that I had to do a late appeal on. Somebody walked by and said, man, what the hell is that shit? He said, yo, man, Lawyer Brown, you mean dude with his pants hung down off his ass like that, man? And see, like most of us like me up in here, we doing life a long time, man. We got everything we need but soft booties. So, see, we trying to soften up some booties. That's man pussy over there. That's the signal with them pants down like that. So when he oversee where them trees is, when the guards ain't around, we just bend them down, pull them down, and get down. We gonna make that ass wide open. And see, when he on the cell block, he got to take them pants off. We don't let him wear no panties. And that baggy shirt, that be his dress. We already done got some jewelry we done made up for dude in the metal shop, see. And Jamal done got his baby sister done sent a care package with rouge, eyeshadow, mascara, eyelashes, lipstick, and plastic nails. We gonna girl dude all the way up. See, that's what time it is and what all these kids walking around doing. The lower the sag, the cooler the dude, like hell. You know, there's no manhood. Man, you got to do your time if you're going to be a man. Yeah, man. No, you don't. You want to be a slave fool? Because that's what it is being off in there. You getting chomped out because the bottom line is on why do we have this schoolhouse, jailhouse pipeline? It's labor control. They don't want anybody's free labor. There are not enough damn jobs to go around because the United States of America has a fundamental flaw in its policy. Unlike every other industrialized country, unlike them, we're the only one that does not have a program to reverse the obsolescence of the typical worker in the face of industrial technology and computerization. We say leave it to private enterprise, and private enterprise is about making a profit. It's about greed, not the overall good. And we've left it to them, so there are not enough jobs to go around. So what you do is you store the damn surplus labor in a warehouse known as a penitentiary instead of a grain silo. You subsidize a would-be producer, you give them a government check. You cut back production by putting all that stupid foolishness into these children's heads so they drop out, bang out, drug out, get knocked up too early, too often, clown, don't have any viable skills, trades, occupations, don't have any academic prowess or any damn thing, clown around, tear down their communities, make them chaotic so they can't engage in political self-help. And then once they get locked up in the damn penitentiary, they're very difficult to employ once they get out. And there's $1 trillion high growth industry feeding them, sheltering them, clothing them, transporting them, providing communications and security for them. That's
So
where the money is, not getting them doing a little chicken shit, occupy the time, labor in a penitentiary so they aren't idle and get up to mischief.
Indeed. Let me ask you a question, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Where do you think we go from here? And, you know, can you assist in giving lectures in
Yes,
so
I
far
can.
as manhood? Because I'm all for that, you know, that manhood training. So what do you?
This. It works. It can be done, but it's difficult. Simple, but it's very difficult. The difficulty is getting it through somebody's head that suicide is not the way. Being willing to die for a cause is. We have no cause, we have no drive, we have no purpose. Until we catch fire and get it, we ain't shit, won't be shit. See, we have to be able to accept this one proposition. It is better to be dead than to be a slave. And as long as our culture attempts to justify the shame of slavery, we'll go nowhere. When we get beyond that and say, you know, I'm embarrassed because there are so many black folk. Most of us should have been dead trying to get free. But you see, until we can accept that, we ain't going any damn where. Church ain't gonna get it. Money ain't gonna get it. Air Jordans won't get it. Long cars won't get it. Only that willingness for the men to man up and be willing to die for a purpose. So you don't say, there's no daylight at the end of my tunnel. You can say, fuck that shit. It's my job to get everybody I'm responsible for to the end of that tunnel. If there's smoke and flames obscuring that tunnel and we can't see the daylight, it's my job to slay all the fire-breathing Gila monsters that are setting fire to that tunnel. And if I die in the process, at least somebody will remember my otherwise trifling ass for being a hero. So we have to adopt that mindset. Once you adopt that mindset, there's no end to the possibilities that you can, as to what you can achieve. See, look at what we're doing. We pimp our women instead of saying women are a resource that need to be died for and the protection of. We don't raise our children because our children were conceived as a means either of a pleasurable accident or as a way to get a check. You see, we don't raise our children because we're too damn busy trying to worry about what we're missing in life. We're too damn busy missing shit in life because we want it right now and we don't think about our grandchildren getting it. See, we got to develop a damn work ethic. You got to support black business. I've lived in one house here for 20 years. And I've hired all kinds of black folk to work this lawn. I've had to fire 10 of the 11 firms that I hired because I'd come home early from doing what I did in Hollywood, wouldn't tell anybody. The grass is high. They're supposed to be there Monday. This is Sunday. Nobody shows up Monday. The following week, nobody shows up. Nobody shows up on Monday. I said, tell somebody I'll be here Thursday. Look out the window the next morning, a whole bunch of people out there trying to cut the grass. I'll wait until they're finished. Your ass is fired. Huh? So you didn't come. Been here 3 weeks, you lying son of a bitch. Get off my property.
All right, I got another.
Do something about that.
No,
You're
right.
Black business, be reliable.
I got another question
to
for you.
Hustle somebody. The world is not about a hustle. It's about hard work. Even if you do hustle, the hustle's hard. We got to stop thinking like somebody's supposed to feed us. That's like being a dog on a damn plantation where you wait for massa to blow the whistle or whistle for your ass. Here, boy, food time, boy. Come on in here. Got some fiddles for you.
Yeah, so I got another question for you. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Connie.
No, just speaking of hard work. So we've got the midterms coming up. We have the general election coming up. What do you think our strategy should be to get candidates that aren't like Kamala, aren't like Barack, that have a black agenda?
Remember I just said you got to think long term?
Mm-hmm.
Vote against everybody you would have otherwise voted for. Ain't getting shit anyway. So they shock them. Vote against them. So what the hell happened? Jesus Christ. What did these African Americans do? Oh my God. How did they vote like that? And then the other side will say, wait a minute, how do we pick up all these votes? Maybe we need to pay attention to them. Well, geez, man, Alan, what are we going to do about the what do they call themselves now? Black again? What are we going to do about them? I mean, why did they leave? And somebody got to point it out. You punk ass motherfucker. You paid attention to LGBTQ. They didn't vote your ass in. We did. Now, see what the fuck it feels like when your water runs dry, motherfucker. Your well is empty. That's what we got to do. Everybody does it but us. We so loyal. Indeed. Okay, let's break some folk down. Al Sharpton, okay, supposed to be a black leader. Okay, you have Don Lemon put up as a black leader. You see him on Crying Negro Network. Crying Negro on the network. Van Jones, you see him. What was the boy that died down here in Georgia this last year? The congressman down there. Funny looking dude, old dude.
John Lewis.
Lewis. That's him. See, John Lewis used to be known as Bayard Rustin's teenage butt boy. Bayard Rustin is put out as the architect of the black civil rights movement, like hell. I remember my old man, war vet, and his buddies sitting in the living room, and they were talking about how they weren't going to get out on their knees. They had been in the war. They tried to kill folk, avoid getting killed, and some bitch raised an arm to them. He's going to come back without an arm. All right. Yeah. And the other thing is they were saying, we can't deal with that. Dad, what do you guys mean when you're doing that? So when you get old enough, I'll explain. So I think I was in the 10th grade, and I was sitting at the table doing homework. The old man dropped the second section of the LA Times off, and this is what it said. Last evening, Los Angeles Police Department made a triple arrest in such and such park. Found in the back seat was Bayard Rustin, prominent civil rights leader, an associate of Dr. Martin Luther King, who was being sodomized by a white suspect, they gave his name, while he, Bayard Rustin, was performing fellatio on another white suspect. I said, damn. My mom said, you know what those words mean? I said, yeah, Dad, he's getting busted in the ass and sucking some dude. who, we were encouraged to look up those terms. You know, somebody was whooping on the yard, so I looked them up. And see, Bayard Rustin was supposed to have had this little close butt buddy that everybody used to snicker about. That was what's his name again? What's his name? I try to forget it. You just told me. What was his name again? The
John
congressman.
Lewis.
John Lewis, Bayard Rustin's butt buddy. And that's why John Lewis always voted for LGBTQ and not a damn thing being black. All right? Al Sharpton always running his chicken. I love me some fried chicken. That was James Brown stuff back when. So, I mean, that's why I used to wear his hair all gassed out when that was something in the early modern history ring in the Smithsonian Institution. He was admiring his boyfriend, James Brown. So, see, we got all this group leading us, well, not leading, but supposedly representing us. It's no wonder that we don't get a damn thing. Turn everybody's ass out. And then, see, we need youthful something new and improved. Yeah, but you see, you youth ain't mad enough. And that's what gets me. You, and you. I'm mad at you because I show up someplace with youth. I'm an old man. I'm supposed to be in a rocking chair, enjoying life, you know, worrying about grandchildren and shit. Trying to find a girlfriend, you know, I mean, you know, it is what it is. I ain't that damn old. I'm not as good as I used to be, but most of the time I'm better than I ever was. But you know, there's that. But you know, I mean, you know, we won't go there.
Yo, Judge Joe is
We
off
won't
the
go
hook. But
there.
go ahead.
But
Go
anyway, I get mad when I walk in and talk to some so-called BSU and some 19-year-old asks me what he ought to be doing. I said, why the hell are you asking me? I'm an old man. You ought to be scaring the shit out of me talking about your radical shit. God damn, you sound like, damn. Jeez, man, you sound like you in a Sunday school class instead of in a BSU meeting. What the hell's wrong with you? Do something radical. Think of something. I mean, what are you talking about? Ah, damn. You got to ask me to explain to you what. Oh, come on, man. Come on, man. You know, you're giving me the position of the enemy. That's what's. I said, do you realize if you had been that age, the age you are right now, with some people your age 50 years ago, they would have looked at you, walked out, come back in, and whipped your ass for being a punk, just on GPs for saying what you just got through telling me. Huh? Yeah. Man up, dude. And don't mean somebody running around looking like he's a thug. We used to talk about those folks that were the thug. Yeah, man, dude off in the penitentiary, man. He don't have to take X-Lax no more. He don't need it. He too wide open, man, from what they did to him when they brought him in. You know? I mean, and you ladies want these thugs. You used to want to get the boys who were in college carrying the books.
Hold
I
on,
don't know what
Judge.
the hell happened.
Hold on, Judge. Hold on, Judge. Don't go into hasty generalizations, sir. I
Some
know.
of your younger sisters that you need to
You
give
know,
instruction to.
yes,
You
and
two
I
are
agree. I
beautiful
agree with
women,
that. I
and you
agree
look
with
like
that.
you got your
I
shit together. I'm talking about
yes.
those you need to be proselytizing to. Young sister, this is not it. You don't need you some thug. They are not all that exciting.
No,
You
they're not.
really want a man who is wised up enough to give guidance. And you have to be wise enough to give advisement. And you got to whisper in his ear, baby, we need to talk. And by the way, don't expect none when we get home. We're going to talk about it. What? Just wait till we get home, be quiet, and wait till that evening. No, not tonight. Not tonight. You got to do some man stuff. That was not cool what you did this evening. But no, you ain't getting no butt tonight. So just go to sleep. We're going to talk about it in the morning. Tomorrow, Saturday. You know, that's the way you get stuff done. You don't do that now. See, understand. We used to say Black power to black people, you know, economic power to those who understand, Panther power to the vanguard, and pussy power in charge. See, women need to understand they're the sole source and supply of pussy on the planet Earth. And most males who are straight, heterosexual, spend their entire careers preparing for, to be able to afford, to be able to support, and to be able to deserve pussy in the pursuit, acquisition, and enjoyment thereof. So you've got the power in your hands, so to speak, between your thighs, and you don't do shit with it. You give it away. And it ain't about just money, it's about influence and importance. And then when you get the dude, if he's trying to deal with you, you going, oh, I don't have quality time. He's working too much. Oh, give it a break. Go shopping or something. Shit. You know? And then you talk about, I love him. He's so exciting, but I'm working 2 jobs trying to get everything together. Damn, fool, that ain't your job. What's wrong with you? Get it together. And brothers, quit this shit where you tell me, Judge, I don't know what you talking about. We got $130,000 family income. I'm making 20 and my old lady making 110. Well, you ain't shit, fool. What's wrong with you? You ain't even at the poverty level. So your woman supporting you and you let them get away with it. They're tragedies. And people don't even realize them. Oh, okay. Justice for Breonna Taylor. All right. We hear that all the time, right? Do you know what it is? Bottom line wrong with the whole equation? I saw it all the time. Still see it. Sister ain't paying attention to the brother that got something going on. She got a thug somewhere in the background. Now, Breonna Taylor worked for the Department of Corrections in her state. She's got a boyfriend living with her. I ain't got no problems with the boyfriend living with her. I do have a problem with the fact that she still maintained good relations with the thug who was the drug dealer, who she was letting use her address as his mailing address and her phone number to get messages. So that's how they hooked up going over to her place in the first damn place. The brother that she was with, I ain't got no problems with him. Under the castle doctrine, he opened fire when somebody tried to kick down the door. That's his job. You notice they didn't charge him with a crime, but let's talk about more. We need to get rid of this castle doctrine. Why? It don't hurt black folk. Black man did not go to the penitentiary because of the castle doctrine. He shot at the police. The police had no business opening fire. They had a right like anybody else to self-defense. You could have shot back if that had happened to you. They shot back. But poor Breonna Taylor is behind a wall sleeping, and the bullets went through the wall and they killed her. Now that's tragedy. Nobody committed a crime, but the department was negligent as hell for not informing those cops on that raid that they already had the suspect. She involved herself in her own death by letting this thug drug dealer use her address and phone number, and she works for the institutions that are supposed to have his ass under lock and key. I get so many problems where you get beautiful sisters, good sisters, and they get messes for themselves, their children, and their relatives because they got a thug they're in love with. Watch who you give yourself to. Reward the guy that's trying to get his shit together. And forget this damn term. Girl, you know I got to break him down to size, honey. Girlfriend, I hear you. You got to break one of them dogs down to manageable pieces. So why you want to tear your man down? Even think like that. Dog, why we call each other dogs? 1969, no black folk were calling anybody dogs or the N-word. 1976, 7, when I ran the public defender's office, I was the boss in Memphis. and all my white employees were scared as hell to go interview black clients and witnesses. I'd go do it. I'd walk into somebody's kitchen in the projects. It's filled with smoke, cigarette, and marijuana. They got a bunch, 8, 9 little snot-nosed kids, smell like they haven't seen water in 3 weeks. Dirty food dried all over their clothes, snot all over their faces, hair unkempt and dirty, and 5 or 6 young girls from 16 to about 23 smoking, drinking a can of Colt 45 or Schlitz small liquor. Little N, give me my cigarettes, you little MF dog, so and so. You little black ass, and N, go get me a beer out the crib. Hurry up. She's only 6 years old. Little MF blah. That's why you talk to your children like that. And see, 10 years later, it's 1986, that child's now a teenager. 20 years later, he's in his 20s. 30 years later, we just hit the turn of the century. What have we got right now? He's going into his 40s, and he's got 6, 7 grandchildren and 25, 30 children running around. He hadn't paid a dime in child support, and now everybody's calling dog and the N-word. Where do you think that came from? And we think it's street cred. And by the way, if you want to see who your enemy is really, think about who you can't use a pejorative to refer to. You can call us the N-word. That's about the worst you can call a black man. But what you've done, in essence, without the person knowing it, especially when he calls himself that, is to make his very existence a pejorative rather than just the word. You can call Jews all kinds of bad things. You can call Mexicans bad things, Italians bad things, Irish bad things, Chinese bad things, Japanese bad things. What's the one thing you can't call somebody because Twitter will cut you off, Facebook and Instagram? I got taught by a visiting Soviet professor in 1967 when I was her teaching assistant. She had been the highest ranking woman on the Soviet Politburo, ran propaganda for the KGB at one point. She said, that's how you can tell who your true enemy is. It's the person you can't talk about. She also said this country has a bigger problem, and it's not racism. It said, she called them, you got these long-haired hippie beatniks, that's what she called them then, who think that they know better than the rest of everybody. And they're going to impose what they think on you for your own good. And in good conscience, they'll turn America into a fascist state without even trying to be a totalitarian government. Once they do that, they will set up a totalitarian government to make you do what they think you ought to do. That's what we're getting.
All right, let me ask you another question, Judge. What do you feel? Somebody asked the question in the chat, and we coming up on a 2-hour mark. Let me just let the family know. Hit the like button. We're gonna wrap it up after this question. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed. Hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you could be part of the notification nation. So the question is, Judge, Herb Saint asks, ask the judge about all these crimes against Asians. So what's going on is you have a lot of crimes that are happening against Asians, and we're somehow getting blamed for them, right? So what is your take on that?
Okay,
black people getting blamed for what white people doing to them.
Propaganda. I told you. I took it for a year. Even studied under the mistress. She was head of the propaganda section of the KGB at one time. You plant this idea in somebody's head and it'll quickly take. It doesn't even have to be remotely true. You say Asians are being killed. They're being targeted. In a country like this, the statistical probability is that somebody of that persuasion is going to get targeted just for random crime. Let's say I wanted to give you a facetious example. There are people who have a thing against flip-flops. So they're targeting people who wear flip-flops in the summer. Okay. So obviously, with 360 million people in the country, there's going to be somebody wearing flip-flops who is going to get his ass jacked. All right. That's a statistical impossibility for that to not happen. So somebody that's pushing this narrative is going to be, see, wearers of flip-flops are targeted for violence. And what you will see if you get a statistical analysis is before this targeting, there will be the same level as after this alleged targeting. There will be no statistical difference. Like they've got this white guy that apparently went and raided 4 massage parlors and killed 8 folks, supposedly because he's mad about COVID-19. That is 3.657 times 10 to the minus 10th. That isn't even a blip in reality. But that's being tooted to prove the point. The random stuff that occurs in the Black community, because Koreans run weave shops, wig shops, beauty salons, nail salons in the Black community, is going to dictate that there is a high probability that they will be victims of random criminal activity. To come up and say C-19 is specious, and that's just part of the propaganda thing to condition you. See, they have an agenda, and part of that agenda is to impose draconian censorship and restrictions on the public. In order to impose these things, what you have to do is show some justification. When you seize upon a justification, it doesn't have to be a real one, it can be a manufactured one. 1933, the Nazis became pretty well represented in German parliament. Hitler got appointed chancellor. The Nazis burnt down the Reichstag, which is the German parliament building. They blamed communists. They even found a scapegoat and executed him. But shortly thereafter, they started a campaign of strict censorship and the imposition of sanctions on any behavior supposedly for public safety. If you're going to claim to be a fireman, nobody's going to be excited about hiring firemen unless they're fired. So what they're doing with all this nonsense about accusing Black folk of killing or targeting Asians is simply to create justification for more draconian imposition of restrictions, to justify creating a new department, some harsher laws to give them more authority to do things with those laws that weren't anticipated. 911 resulted in the proliferation of Homeland Security / Patriot Act stuff. It gave federal agencies authority under the law that you saw exercised by J. Edgar Hoover up to the 60s that were against the law, but he exercised them because he had power. That's how King got killed. By the way, it wasn't for civil rights. It's because Hoover thought that King would be a threat because he would galvanize the anti-war movement and he would revitalize labor. That's what they had in the memoranda that are in that file that I read through when I was the last judge on James Earl Ray's case. So we have to get real in what we are doing. That is a fabrication. Yes, it's bad to target anybody. Yes, there are people of all persuasions who get jacked when they get in a jungle. There are tigers and lions out there, and it's because we don't have public peace, dignity, and order in the jungle. And yes, if you are an Asian, like anybody else, a Black businessman, a Black barber, a Black beautician, a Black grocery store operator, you're going to become the victim of random criminal activity if you operate in the hood. And by the way, it's China that the virus apparently came from. It's not Korea. It's not the Philippines. It's not Formosa. It's not Japan. So just who is supposed to be getting targeted? Who is supposed to be getting targeted? See, that's a myth. They put that out there so people will buy it. Hitler Goebbels, minister of propaganda for the Nazis, says, tell a lie long enough, loud enough, and often enough, you can get people to believe it. Get anyone to believe it. And you can tell you're successful. He added this: when they start thinking in terms of the propaganda, when the questions they ask are in terms of the propaganda, when the results they expect are actually logical conclusions of the propaganda.
Yes, indeed. All right, thank you. We want to thank our esteemed guests for coming on. This was a very, very powerful discussion. I want to thank our Sister Cynthia and Sister Connie's first time appearing on BTP, for co-hosting. Again, we're going to have the sisters coming on at least one day a week, hosting on this channel. Y'all know how we do as freedmen, reparationists, etc., etc. So look forward to that. Check out the new website, usadof.com. Remember, we are having a Freedmen's Festival in Atlanta, Georgia on Juneteenth weekend. We're doing a reparations rally at the Capitol in Atlanta. And then the next day, we're setting up a whole festival. We want to make that our 4th of July. It's time to celebrate us. It's time to celebrate our Americanism, our unique tribe as Americans. Y'all already know what it is. So Judge Joe Brown, thank you, man. And I'm going to be in contact with you.
You can get me, by the way, at Judge Joe Brown TV on Twitter. I don't have a blue check. You can find me at Judge Joe Brown on Parler, and I do have a red P. And when I get my check, if I get my check, I'm going to invest the whole hunk in some experimental investments that I had that I want to see how, whether or not they work. I'll risk that, maybe make some big money off of it. But, keep faith with yourself. Be strong. Man up, stand up, move it on out. Power to the damn people, right on and get it on. And by the way, Sister Cynthia and Sister Connie, you last to look on. You makes an old man want to grin, yes. Sit back, rock, and be smiling. Yeah. Your man should have seen me today. I had some fine ones was grinning at me. And I apologize
peace,
for the
love,
bad
and
language, but I'm
reparations to
trying to
you.
make a point by showing how we have gotten so accustomed to cussing that we accept it. But the real profane thing, some ideas we sit up there and let get crammed down our throats. So anyway, I'm out of here. The judge has got to go. This has been on your show, but judge got to hit the road and ain't got a chance and time to get back and sit back like a toad. I'm flying, I'm floating. I don't even touch the ground because I'm going on. This is Judge Joe Brown. I'm out.
Thank you, Judge.
Peace,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. That was interesting. That was definitely